yeah, that's tomorrow on Mornings. You know, thousands of young children across the country have just started big school, and it's often the first few weeks problems, adjustment issues begin to surface. So with 5 key things you can do to help your child have a successful school year, primary school teacher and mum of 2, Angie Wilcock, joins us. Good morning. Welcome, Angie.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Kerri-Anne.
Now, we'll get to these 5 tips, but there are a couple of issues that have been discussed. Mums and dads have to do the lunchbox thing, and apparently 45% find it very stressful to organise the lunch every single day. There's a bit of peer pressure. What's happening out there?
Well, I think with the focus these days on healthy canteens, I think parents are supported in their choices by choices that schools have made in terms of having healthy choices at canteen. There's not so much sharing of food these days as there used to be because there's lots of allergy issues now.
Because when I was at school, we'd trade lunches all the time.
Oh, no, that's a big no-no in these days. You bring to school what you plan on eating. I think the best advice for parents is to just follow the normal healthy eating guidelines, but if you want to avoid having World War III at home about lunch boxes and bringing lunches home uneaten, you need to spend some time talking with your child and saying, why don't you eat this, why don't you like this, is there something else? But basically, your own instinct and guided by the healthy eating, I think that should be what you should stick with. And really, in terms of the big picture of children's education, there's a lot of other stressful issues that you could be dealing with.
But when I read 45% of mums with children, years 5 and 6, find the routine stressful. So you've got to find stuff they want to eat. Yeah. Buying it can be more expensive. So sending them to school with it is the cheaper but better option. But talk.
But yes, talk to them.
I've got an email that I want to get through to some of the emails you kindly sent to us. This is from Melinda in South Australia. My daughter starts school next year. I'm worried already. What skills do kids need before they start school?
Well, in terms of before they start school, lots of kids, or most kids these days, they've attended preschool or long day care, and most of those places have some kind of programs instituted, pre-reading, pre-literacy, pre-numeracy skills. But in terms of just mums at home or a carer at home dealing with kids, I think in terms of sort of the academic side of it, just read a lot to them, take them shopping, read labels on cans, be aware of numbers and rhymes, that sort of thing. And in terms of behaviour, I think it's good to have your child used to the idea of sharing. Kids are very self-centred. They start school and it's all about me. And when they're thrown into a group of perhaps 20 or 25 other children, some of whom they might know, some they don't, they need to learn to take turns, to share, all of those sort of social skills. So that's a good way to prepare your child for school.
Gee, that's important because, as I mentioned in the intro, it's about now that the cracks are in the first few weeks. It's not like day one.
No.
The cracks start to show. Why is that, from your experience?
Well, I think day one is a day of excitement. I mean, the kids are excited. They've got the new uniforms. They look good. They've been rehearsing it and trying it on for weeks beforehand. So there's a lot of excitement for day one for those children. For mums and dads, it's a combination. I mean, this has been a slow burning, like a little volcano building up to this first day of school. And there's a bit of excitement, but there's also a touch of anxiety, a little bit of sadness, a little bit of anticipation. But it's all about day one. And then when day one comes and goes and they've all survived and they're all in one piece, then it's the reality of, OK, well, this is going on for longer than day one. And in my experience, both as a parent and a teacher, from my perspective, from my boys, I had one boy who was very reluctant to go to school, and he was fine for the first 2 or 3 days, but then the weekend came and played and did all the weekend things, and then Monday the school uniform came out and it was a matter of, no, I've been there, I've done school, I don't need to do that again, do I?
Gemma from the ACT sent something along the same lines. My son was terrific, first day of school, transition smooth, we were amazed. Then he found out he had to go again.
Yes.
Up next day, and keep on going. He freaked out, he cries all the time. I physically had to extract him when I leave him at school. OK, what does Gemma and mums like that do? Well,
I think that sort of links in with one of the 5 points that I've got on my, top 5 list, and that's to remain positive. I think you need to spend a lot of time in those first few weeks to spackle up the cracks. You need to spend a lot of time talking with your child, finding out about their day, being positive, Some parents haven't had wonderful school life experiences, and we say, you know, school are the best years of your life. For some people, that's not the case. So if you fit into that category, you need to be mindful of that when you're talking with your child. Don't inflict it on them.
And I love number 2 on your list here, talk and listen.
And listen.
Again, that's so important. Number 3, communication.
Yes, well, they all link in together, the talking and listening. I used to use that little strategy, and I've used it with other children that I've taught, and I've also used it with my own sons, that if you have a child who's reluctant to be there, doesn't want to be there, and there's lots of tears and angst, at the end of the day, obviously, they've recovered. So you'd find that opportunity to find something positive about their day and say, oh, what game did you play? Who did you play with today? What did your teacher read you a story? Oh, that must have been fun. The next day, when the tears start up again and there's that routine of I don't want to go to school, remind them of the good things, remind them of how much fun they had the day before, and then they'll realise eventually that's not so bad. A bit of advice I can sort of give in terms of having children stay positive and happy to be at school. The children who continue to cry beyond that first few days, they're generally the ones whose mums are reluctant to leave the playground. So I really encourage parents, as hard as it is...
Get out of there.
You need to be out of there. And I know that from personal experience, I was known to hide behind a bit of a brick wall and just peek round the corner and make sure that he was okay. And when you hear this little voice screaming, please don't leave me here, it's very hard not to want to go and grab your child and take them home. But
well, I'd love to know, anybody watching, has this been your issue? Your issue's taking the kids to school, those little, those moments that Angie's been talking about, morningtalk@9.com.au. OK, I love this from, I've got to get to Jenny from Geelong. My daughter started school, she won't tell me anything about it. When she gets home, nothing about what's happened all day. It's all in the past. She doesn't want to talk about it. Why won't she talk about it? She's worried if she's coping.
Well, I think in terms of that kind of response, I can associate that with an adult perspective. Of, you know, if you go home and your partner says to you, how was your day? The last thing you want to do is to relive it. And kids are pretty much the same. Oftentimes they're tired, they've had a lot thrown at them during the day, they just want to forget about it. If you're concerned that your child isn't coping,
talk to the teacher.
But rather than say to your child, what did you learn today, or who did this, who did that, rather than very sort of serious, targeted questions, try and make the questions a little bit more fun. Who did you play with today, and what games did you play in the playground? If you make it more so that it's not threatening, then you're more likely to get information.
And the last 2 great points, establish a routine and be involved. Critical, these, I think, some of the most important.
Well, I think the routine, the earlier you get into a routine with your child, the better. If you're determined to hang that last load of washing out before you scream at them to get into the car, that's a no-no, because they're stressed, you're stressed, and then you're taking them in with clenched teeth, thinking, I'm running late, the bell's already gone. So if you establish a routine, you get the bag packed, you have a good healthy breakfast, plenty of
be organised.
Be organised.
OK, and we've got our great tips. They're all on the website. Go to Kerri-Anne.com.au. Been very, very helpful, Angie, and thank you. We just want those mums and dads and carers to get these kids off to a good start and establish, you know, a healthy routine for loving school. It's important.
A deep breath, they will survive. Thank you.
Angie Wilcock joining us. We've got more coming up on Mornings. Here's an idea for getting a better night's sleep.
Now, do you have trouble